My name is Frank Ally. I'm a California attorney primarily focusing on family law issues. Now let's get started. So, you've either filed a petition for dissolution or you've been served the petition and now need to respond. Remember, a response is important. You have 30 days. Click on the link above to remind yourself of how a response works. But at a minimum, your divorce is going to take at least 6 months and 1 day before it can legally be finalized by the court. And in that 6 months and 1 day, you've got a lot of work to do. You've got to do your disclosures. See the episodes on disclosures above. You have times to negotiate, and you got to figure out how you're going to divide up the assets and debts of the marriage and wind up all the other issues that arise out of your marriage. You probably are going to need some temporary orders. And during this pendency of the dissolution proceedings, which at a minimum is 6 months and 1 day and can last, frankly, quite a lot longer, and in the pendency of the dissolution action, you're probably going to need some temporary orders to make sure that everybody knows exactly what everybody's duties and responsibilities are going forward. I'm going to talk in this video about some of those temporary orders and why you might need them and how we go about getting them. The first in primary importance, in my view, is if there's children involved, we probably need to establish some ground rules about custody and parenting time issues. That will probably involve some sort of mediation or evaluation from the court system and the judge making some temporary orders until such time as we can finalize the divorce and enter permanent custody and parenting time orders. During a lot of marriages, we sometimes have a discrepancy in income between the two parties. That could give rise for a need for one party needing spousal support or child support to help support the children. These things can be handled as temporary orders until such time as we gather all the information we need and have a chance to make permanent orders on this. The establishment of child support and spousal support is important and can be handled as temporary orders, generally as math formulas. We've provided a separate episode on the determination of child support, including a walkthrough of how the courts will determine what your child support is, and also a walkthrough of how the court will determine what your temporary spousal support needs are. The child support link is above, click on it. The spousal support link is above, click on it. Sometimes parties need to have some certainty with regard to property issues. For example, I hate to say this, but when people come to see me and they say they're getting a divorce, I usually recommend that one of the parties move out of the former family residence. I've had too many experiences where during the hurt and pain of the initial dissolution process that people say the wrong thing, press the wrong buttons, and sometimes arguments escalate to an unfortunate extent. Sometimes people end up with domestic violence restraining orders. Sometimes they get pulled away and are wearing orange jumpsuits. It's usually better that one person stay in the family residence and the other one leave. That can be subject to an order where the parties decide who has temporary use and possession of the former family home, whether it be a owned piece of real estate or even an apartment that the two of you had co-leased together. So that would also be the subject of a temporary order. Remember, all these temporary orders are just that, they're temporary. Temporary orders can be changed by further order of the court. So just because you agree or stipulate to a temporary order does not mean that that can't be changed later on. What we're trying to do in this temporary stage is to calm things down and get everybody to a point where we can move forward with the entire dissolution process. Remember, fights, drama, disagreements, button pressing all create additional expense and time. They're not productive. We want to try to handle your dissolution in a business-like fashion where We minimize your attorney fees, your cost, and your times in court. Sometimes there's a disparity of income and assets available to pay attorneys. And if one of the parties can't afford to pay their attorney fees and the other can't afford to pay for all or part of both attorney fees, sometimes the courts will order that one party pay attorney fees to the other. This is usually part of a general consideration after the court considers the spousal support and the child support implications. Because at the end of the day, if one party's paying child support and spousal support, they're going to have less money to pay attorney fees, and the courts are going to make sure everything stays balanced. So we also have links above for property orders and for attorney fees. We talked about automatic temporary restraining orders in an earlier video. Those are also temporary orders that are entered by the court, and they have nothing to do with fault. They are just a set of rules set forth by the state of California to make sure that everybody stays honest and straight, and that we try to reduce any conflicts by setting up some rules in advance. If you haven't seen the ATRO video yet, please click on the episode above, go review it. It's very important. One of the hardest things in my job is dealing with domestic violence issues. Either people who are victims of it or people who are the perpetrators of domestic violence. Unfortunately, there's a lot of domestic violence in divorce cases in California. We try to avoid it as much as possible, and we do not want you having domestic violence in your case. But sometimes the domestic violence rises to such an extent that special orders are required. And you can go out and get a domestic violence restraining order. We don't want to weaponize domestic violence, but we certainly want to make sure that all parties are protected and feel safe and not harassed. We have a series of video on domestic violence restraining orders. You can click on those episodes in the above links. There are also a number of other reasons you can have temporary orders. There's different things for different times. Each case is different based on the facts of your cases. So I hope this has been helpful to you in moving forward. Understand that you're going to get to your permanent divorce. You're going to have light at the end of the tunnel. This is all going to be resolved someday. The temporary orders are just designed to help you get there. I hope this helps. And remember, be good to one another, and let's keep things fair.